Bye-bye, Lamplighter. You won't be missed. Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. It was another good episode of The Boys. The exploding heads were kind of off the charts. Gross this episode. I was glad I was watching this by myself. When I watched the first episode and Jennifer Esposito's head exploded, my wife literally screamed. So I'm glad that she wasn't here to witness this, because I didn't see it coming. I kind of expected Homelander to intervene to stop Vogelbaum from testifying, but I really didn't expect that person's head to explode at that moment. And it seemed like it was just as shocking for the characters in the room. And it basically was an intercut montage of exploding heads and reaction shots. You have the boys reacting in their from their couch where they have popcorn even. And you've got, of course, Victoria Newman and Homelander and other characters in the audience reacting. Now, it seemed to me that Homelander seemed just as surprised by this development as anyone else. So it seems like he clearly wasn't in the know on this. And it seems like this could go back to the fact that there's a coup at Vought, and maybe whoever enacted this is part of that coup, because we haven't really seen exploding heads that were done without a discernible cause other than that in episode 1, which was right when Jennifer Esposito said she had figured something out, and then boom. So I really think that they could have rammed this home by having Victoria Newman's character die as well. I think that might have been a little harsh, but I feel like having all these faceless, kind of nameless, anonymous characters get killed doesn't have as much impact as it could. I mean, some of you may be shedding tears for Vogelbaum. I certainly wouldn't be. This goes to show how powerful the villains in the show are, that they can do this at any time. And it kind of begs the question why Vogelbaum would be more frightened of Billy coming after his family than he would be of Vought coming after him and his family. Now, we did say goodbye to Lamplighter this episode, as I previously mentioned, and he didn't go out on a high note, to say the least. I have to ask, who watches that much porn for that long? I really do have to question. That just doesn't even seem fun. And also, who watches porn with someone else in the room? I just feel like that's not something that a lot of people do. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, the only way that Huey could get him to go and try to rescue Starlight was to feed his ego and say, hey, you can be what you used to be. You can relive the glory days. I had kind of felt like they were going in a redemptive direction with this character, although I'm sure a lot of you feel like this character shouldn't be redeemed after all the terrible things he's done. But that's the direction I thought that they were going in. But my first indication that this wasn't what was going to happen was when Victoria Newman said to him, yes, we can all see that you're the real victim here, which kind of showed to me, no, they're going with the, white male with a victim complex scenario instead. And of course, Lamplighter, the minute he gets Huey into the tower, ignites himself and goes out in a blaze of glory. Although it's not much of a blaze of glory, considering he's basically just a husk of a body that they're going to find whenever anybody eventually goes in there. I don't really know how that's going to, no one's going to care, basically. I don't know why he would feel like that was worth doing. Queen Maeve and Black Noir obviously had a little bit of a tangle over Starlight, and apparently a nut allergy, tree nut allergy, is Black Noir's kryptonite, so to speak. I don't think this character's dead. I feel like they would have made that more clear cut if he was dead and wasn't going to come back. I imagine we'll see him in the hospital or something next episode. But it was a pretty ignominious fate for this character to be defeated by a nut allergy. We had a little bit more development of the Church of the Collective this episode. They telling A-Train and the Deep that Eagle the Archer is out, and basically because he wouldn't sever ties with his mom, no one's allowed to talk to him anymore. And obviously they're kind of going with a similar critique of the Church of the Collective that they would have of Scientology, I suppose, because, you had Tom Cruise and all the rumors about why he had his wife, Katie Holmes, leave him and what Scientology requires of him. Ryan's got a new mom, and this is the challenge. I understand where Ryan's mother is coming from, that she wanted to protect him, that she doesn't want him to turn out like Homelander. But I think that it's pretty obvious if you've watched enough movies and if you've had kids of your own and you've seen other people's kids, that that sheltering children from the realities of the world is rarely a good idea, and especially when this entails cutting them off from the good things in the world as well. And of course, Ryan is going to have this reaction when he realizes he's been lied to. And at this point, Homelander, the fact that he's lingering on in this child's life is kind of disgusting, considering this child was conceived in rape. And we would never want a rapist to be given access to the children that he conceived through that rape. That's terrible. And that he gets to play by this different rule book is pretty disgusting. But it's interesting that at this moment, I think Ryan views Homelander as this cool uncle. And to me, looking at Homelander, as narcissistic as he is, I kind of wonder for how long he's going to be willing to give his affection to this child. Now, a lot of people, I think they look at their children and they see themselves and it makes them feel good inside. And I think that that's the point that Homelander's at this moment. But I tend to wonder if he can't become jealous of the love that his own child has received and kind of become jealous of his own child, and what that's going to do for Ryan when this comes out. Obviously, I think if you saw the teaser for the next episode, Billy is going to potentially help get Ryan back, and that's going to be what happens in the finale. Butcher this episode interacted with everybody's least favorite Lord of the Rings character, actor John Noble, and with Leslie Nicole, better known as Mrs. Patmore. And both these characters, I think, were mainly included to give a little bit more of Billy's backstory. We find out that his brother died and that he holds his father responsible, and that his father is now dying of cancer. And it's going to be interesting to see how Billy moves forward with this, whether he can forgive or whether he's going to hold on to the anger that he's feeling. Lastly, this episode opened with a pretty political sequence that was kind of a cold open, showing this character going through each day, just imbibing the messages from the internet and from bot news, which if you can't tell what that's a parody of, then I'm not going to clear it up for you. But, this showing how harmful these voices that he's allowing to speak to him have been, and how they lead him to take an innocent man's life. This is tough. I feel like this show could stand to be a little bit more even-handed, because I question, who does this type of message reach? I'm not saying that the showrunners shouldn't have a message, but to me, this is borderline propaganda and preaching to the choir, so I'm not sure how useful it is, even though I do tend to agree with what they're portraying, that this is the harm that this kind of speech that Homelander and Stormfront are giving, that's the kind of harm that it can cause when it causes people to view everyone who's not like them with suspicion, and to view America as being only a home to one type of person. So overall, strong episode. Enjoyed it. Looking forward to next week. I believe this is the last episode. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments. If you're interested in seeing my other reviews, please consider subscribing. And as always, you can watch more videos right now.